Hey guys, Sean from Talking Fandom and such here, and we're getting ready to go into the theater to watch Ghostbusters Afterlife. Stick around and I'll tell you what I think. Alright, so we're back home. We saw the movie. We did our little short take review of it, and that's up. If you want to watch that, I recommend you watch it anyway. But this is our longer discussion about the movie and what we thought. And here's Miko along with me. So let's get started. So first off, what did I think of this movie? Well, it does have a lot of fan service in it. But I'm of the mind that fan service isn't a bad thing. When you think about it, it's almost like you can't win in today's society. Either people complain because there's too much fan service, or they complain that there's not enough. In Star Wars, if 70-year-old Luke Skywalker had been flipping around, doing backflips and doing lightsaber fights and breaking his neck for our gratification, there'd be some people that would be happy. But I'm willing to bet that despite the fact that people say that a Luke Skywalker that's closer to the young Luke Skywalker would have made them happy, it probably wouldn't have made them as happy. They would have noticed that he was too old to do the things he did. This movie has a lot of that to it. It pays homage to the original movie and gives us a little fan service that we can jump aboard and feel a little nostalgic. And argumentatively, this does it a lot better than Star Wars does. And love it or hate it, you decide ultimately what you like in your fandoms and what you don't. Personally, I think sometimes giving people a little bit of fan service is absolutely okay. There have been a lot of critics who have said there's too much fan service in this movie, talking about it being a rehash of the original Ghostbusters movie. Which begs me to ask if they have ever seen the original Ghostbusters movies. Because obviously this movie has some similarities and shares some of the same characters and big bads and this and that as we saw in the commercial. We see Stay Puft Marshmallow Men, we see the dogs, we see all this stuff going on. We know where this movie's going from the beginning. We know going in that this is Egon Spengler's grandchildren. We know this for a fact. So for the critics to say it's a rehash, I think is really harsh. I think that if you're a fan of the original and you go in with an open mind, you will find a lot of things that are enjoyable about this movie. Now, the little actress that plays the main character of the movie, and I'll call her the main character of the movie because actually the kids are the main characters, but you really quickly start to see that she outshines everyone. McKenzie Grace gives like the most amazing performance as Egon Spengler's little misfit grandchild who has all of his intelligence and all of his awkwardness. She rapidly becomes the very reason that you're watching this movie. That little girl can act. I have seen her in several different things over the years. She has played in everything from a Bad Seed remake to some of the other really decent little movies that she's been in. There was one where she was a Girl Scout and didn't want to be a Girl Scout. It was a whole misfit movie thing. It was really funny. And time and time again, when I'm watching this little girl act, I'm like, wow, she is going to win so many awards. And she gets some heavy material in this movie and then flips the switch really easily over to the comedy side of it. Finn Wolfhard does an okay job in this movie, although nowhere near as good as McKenzie Grace. Now, I think it's a matter of, if you remember the original Ghostbusters, the good lines went to one actor. A lot of the lines that kind of make you smile and chuckle a little bit seem to go to McKenzie Grace in this movie. And that's not to say some of the others don't get good lines, because all of them in this movie have a good line at one point or another. Paul Rudd is amazing in this movie, as always. Paul Rudd, in my opinion, is very underrated as an actor. I've seen him in movies play a little bit serious, and then I've seen him in movies where he's outright comical. And not to mention, he's the shining spot in the Halloween Curse of Michael Myers movie. He is one of the main reasons that I can watch that movie over and over again. So, acting-wise, the movie is on point. It's on par with the original. It does its job. Story-wise, yes, there's a lot of throwbacks. The whole plot is essentially one big homage, one big tribute to the past. And there's nothing wrong with that. To have an actor from the original series be dead and not be able to be in the new movies, you have to look at the fact that how are they honoring this person? And what they've done is they've created this nice little story around his grandchildren finding the ghost-busting equipment and starting to figure out some of the ways that they can help society, essentially. The movie does a good job of not being too heavy. You can take your kids that are about 13 to this movie. You can probably take an 11 or 12-year-old to this movie. I'd say maybe even a 10-year-old. It depends on what you're comfortable with your kids seeing. There's not a lot of really graphic material in the movie. There's a few bits of language every now and then, a few suggestive themes, but no worse than the original movie. In fact, compared to the original movie, it does seem a little bit more oriented towards children. And that's not a bad thing. The younger fans are what they're aiming for here because they want to bring them in. But at the same time, they want to give you that nostalgic feeling like you're going to see an old friend. And it's amazing in that way. You never once feel as though you're not going back. You know, you never feel as though you're entering some point that's completely new, but at the same time, it's kind of like going home. It's like that old shoe that you put on. You start to smile and realize just how nice having that old shoe on feels. This movie is amazing for doing that, and I highly recommend it. I said I give it 4.5 stars, and I mean that. There are 2 end credit scenes in the movie. One comes kind of mid-credit, so you need to stick around for that. The end credit one is a bit longer. For an end credit scene, it's a little bit longer than some of the stuff we're used to. It seemed like the scene lasted about 5 minutes after the credits rolled. And usually, even in a Marvel movie, you get this quick little quip, and then they're done with the end credit scene. This movie kind of gives you a little bit more, and it sets up some nice possibilities. And I don't want to give too much away, just you want to make sure you stick around for that end credit scene, especially if you are feeling nostalgic by that point. Especially if seeing the little Stay Puft Marshmallow Men, seeing the terror dogs, seeing all this stuff starts to feel like you came home or something. You want to make sure that you stick around. You want to make sure you watch the whole movie, but go in with an open mind, because if you're letting some of these critics get to you and tell you how not for you this movie is, you can fall into that trap. Watch it for yourself and let me know what you think of it, definitely. Alright, so remember, if you like this video, hit that like button, share it with all your friends, and don't forget to hit subscribe. Miko says we need more subscribers, and I tend to think he's right. I mean, look at this face. He's definitely right, right? Look at that. So you want to hit that subscribe button and hit that notification bell so you know when we do another video, because we talk about all things positive in your fandoms. We don't spout hate like a lot of YouTube channels do. And for that reason, you want to continue to watch us. So make sure you are hitting that subscribe button and that notification bell. And be safe out there, because the world's a dangerous place sometimes, and we care about you. And then also, friends, at the end of the day, remember, fandom is family.